Welcome to Prime Time. Tonight, we are tracking the total collapse of the globalist elite, and the mainstream media is completely silent about it. For years, the puppet masters, the deep state, corrupt politicians, big tech, and the fake news have been running a massive worldwide laundering scheme. And who is footing the bill? You, the American taxpayer. The money was flowing straight from the Federal Reserve, but Donald Trump knew exactly what they were doing. He didn't go after the Federal Reserve directly because shutting down the source would have imploded the entire global economy. So he went after the middlemen. He cut off the deep state's oxygen supply by targeting USAID, the rogue NGOs, and those infamous 14 computers inside the Treasury Department. Think about it. This corrupt system wasn't just Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton. It was a sprawling, global operation designed to control oil prices, install puppet leaders, fund Antifa foot soldiers, and push radical wokeism down your throat. Even the migrant crisis flooding Europe right now, follow the money, folks, because it traces right back to Washington. But Trump just cut off the pipeline, and by choking out the money laundering, he is literally setting the world free. If you don't have the cash, you can't pay corrupt politicians to run for office, and you certainly can't pay them to stay there. Look at Central and South America. The leadership is already shifting because the deep state can't fund their operations anymore. Their power is eroding by the day. Now, sure, they still have their fake news propaganda networks, and they still have their swamp creatures dug into D.C. because we can't kick them out until the next election. But guess what? Elections cost money, and cheating costs even more. They are panicking, throwing absolutely everything they have into California to save Los Angeles, because the money is completely drying up. Look at the governor's race out there. They realized throwing out both Hilton and Pratt would look incredibly suspicious. So they kept Hilton in the race and used every dirty trick in the book to try and bury Pratt. But Pratt is fighting back, warning that there are still uncounted votes waiting to expose the deep state's cheating mechanism. If those votes drop, the media will claim Pratt cheated, which would open up a massive can of worms they are desperately trying to keep closed. But the walls are closing in. Attorney General Todd Blanche is already dropping hints that massive criminal charges are incoming for election manipulation. This entire house of cards had to come down. And with Trump's team deep inside the investigation into Fulton County, the reckoning is finally here. We'll see how it plays out. But the deep state's bank account just hit zero. And it doesn't stop with Fulton County. Trump is also digging deep into Maricopa County. Now, the fake news media and the establishment Democrats are trying to pull a fast one. They're saying, oh, come on, Jesee, that's ancient history. That was 2020. Move on. Things have changed. Those were just minor glitches, one-off tech issues. They want you to believe that today's elections are perfectly secure and run totally differently. But Trump knew he had to drag this straight into the present day. He needed the American people to see it happening right now with their own eyes. So they finally realized this corrupt system never actually left. They are using the exact same playbook, the exact same mail-in ballot schemes, the exact same operations they rolled out in 2020, 2018, and all the way back to 2016. The only difference? Back in 2016, it was a limited test run with mail-ins and relying on illegal immigrants to tilt the scales. But now, they've gone completely all out just to survive Trump's movement. And ask yourself, why do they have to go all out and resort to these extremes? Because they don't have real votes. They don't have the people. They are entirely dependent on non-citizens, fake ballots, and systemic cheating. When the country turns its back on your radical agenda, your only option left is to cheat more and more and more until eventually your entire vote count is fabricated. That is what everyday Americans are experiencing firsthand right now. And the realization is hitting hard that our system has been rigged for a very long time. But every step of the way, Trump is 10 steps ahead. He has the classified intelligence. He knows exactly what they did. And he's systematically laying out the evidence. Because the only way the vast majority of the public will fully accept this reality is through a rigorous, transparent investigation that follows the strict rule of law, allowing everyone to compare the fraud of 2020 directly to what's happening on the ground today. The truth is coming out, and people are going to see it much sooner than the deep state thinks. The other massive shift you're going to see very soon is a historic deal with Iran. It's incoming, folks. I'm not saying it wraps up tomorrow morning, but everything we are witnessing right now between Trump and Tehran is a masterclass in pure leverage. When you're sitting at the negotiating table, you want maximum leverage. And Trump is showing Iran exactly who holds all the cards. Just look at what happened in the Strait of Hormuz. A helicopter goes down on patrol, and initially the media reports it as just a routine crash. Now, you know the Iranian regime. They absolutely love propaganda. If they had actually shot down an American helicopter with a missile, they'd be celebrating in the streets and broadcasting it all over global television, just like they lied about hitting the USS Abraham Lincoln. But this time, Iran went completely silent. They didn't take credit right off the bat. Why? Because Trump immediately dropped a Truth Social post, letting the world know that yes, our helicopter was downed, and an American response was locked and loaded. Talk about creating leverage. Suddenly, the tough-talking regime pivots, starts sweating, and says, well, hold on, it might have just been an accidental collision with a drone. It was a big mistake. Does that sound like the aggressive Iran we've known? Just weeks ago, they were bragging about targeting every single U.S. base in the region and flexing their military muscles. Now they're practically apologizing, claiming their own drone hit the helicopter by accident. That tells you everything you need to know. Their leverage is totally gone. They are terrified because they know exactly what Trump and the United States military are capable of. If Trump executes a strike, he's not going after their leadership. He's going to dismantle their strategic missile sites and air defense networks. He's showing them, I know exactly where your hidden weapons are, and I can touch them whenever I want. Honestly, just making the threat was enough to break them, forcing Iran to confess it was a mistake on the world stage. And let's remember a crucial piece of logic here. Trump is the one who has kept the Strait of Hormuz closed and under tight control this entire time. Why on earth would Iran voluntarily shut down its own vital oil shipping lane and choke off its own revenue? It makes zero sense. Trump has always held the keys to the strait, and Iran knows they're powerless. But while we are asserting dominance abroad, the Democrats are up to their old lawless tricks right here at home. Look at what's happening with the illegal alien crisis. New Jersey Governor Mikey Sherrill is reportedly preparing to burn through $20 million of your hard-earned taxpayer money for a state fund explicitly designed to protect foreign criminals from being deported by federal immigration authorities. Think about that. Your money used to shield lawbreakers. Let's see how that plays out with voters. It is the ultimate America Last agenda. The Democrats have made it crystal clear. If you are a law-abiding American citizen, you are at the back of the line. But if you're in this country illegally, if you are quite literally infiltrating our nation, you get the red carpet treatment. And to top it all off, they are using your hard-earned tax dollars to pay for it. Because this is a coordinated infiltration from within. That is exactly what we are dealing with here. And look at the latest theater they're trying to pull. New Jersey Governor Mikey Sherrill decided to put out this whiny, dramatic statement after finally getting into the Delaney Hall federal facility. She complained, "After being denied access for weeks, I was finally allowed in, but it was a closely controlled and limited tour. Unacceptable. I wasn't allowed to speak directly with the detainees, which raises serious questions about the real conditions. I'll keep pushing to speak with them because they deserve to be heard and the public deserves answers." Oh, give me a break. But fortunately, Homeland Security Secretary Markwayne Mullin was ready with a total reality check. He fired back and completely leveled her, saying, "I'm not surprised you would say something like this, Governor Sherrill. On June 8th, I personally granted you access to the facility as an act of good faith, despite you having exactly zero federal oversight authority." Of course, you're still trying to turn Delaney Hall into a political football for the radical left. You were told before you went in that you would not be speaking to detainees. This is a federal facility, Governor. You are not a federally elected official. I suggest you and your health inspectors spend more time at your own New Jersey state detention facilities. Delaney Hall has 2 times more medical personnel per detainee than New Jersey state prisons, at least 2 times as much square footage. And detainees are 2 times more likely to die in New Jersey state custody. Boom. Mullin didn't stop there either. He exposed the absolute disaster happening in our own backyard, pointing out that New Jersey state prisons are facing systemic health code violations, with over 8,000 inmate grievances filed every single year. At Northern State Prison, they've got untreated flooding and raw sewage. Garden State Youth Correctional Facility got cited for filthy standing water and rodent infestations. And the New Jersey State Prison is a contaminated site surrounded by 6 toxic waste zones within a half-mile radius, where medical call requests face massive delays. Mullin wrapped it up perfectly, telling Sherrill to focus on her own state and start putting the safety of her actual constituents above illegal aliens. The bottom line is that every single time these deep state players try to manufacture a crisis at these detention centers, it blows up in their faces. Their little stunt didn't work because they have completely lost control of the narrative. Maybe back in the day when the fake news media had a total monopoly and social media was heavily censored by the deep state, this kind of propaganda would have worked. Not anymore. No one is buying what they are selling, and their lies are getting debunked in a matter of seconds. Meanwhile, look at what Kash Patel is doing over at the FBI. He is actually rounding up real criminals left and right and completely dismantling human trafficking networks. They just launched Operation Spring Cleaning, a massive 3-month nationwide enforcement surge that hauled in more than 1,100 arrests, seized nearly 1,000 illegal firearms, and took over 2,700 pounds of deadly drugs off our streets. And think about the hypocrisy here. The deep state, the fake news, and the Democrats keep screaming for gun control, but we all know that only applies to law-abiding citizens. Criminals don't go to licensed dealers, they don't show their IDs, and they don't wait for background checks. They buy their weapons on the black market. So when the left tries to disarm everyday Americans while letting criminals keep their guns, they aren't stopping crime. They're just ensuring that the criminals run the city. But the adults are back in charge, and the cleanup has officially begun. That is exactly what we are seeing, and the results speak for themselves. Under FBI Director Kash Patel, the